Well, hello, YouTube. Things are turning pretty weird. I see down in the Middle East. We're talking about a chemical attack in Syria. I'm just Googled it and brought up several sites here. And they're very serious. They're reporting 1,300 killed, and that is from CBSNews.com. And it's brought about by the Assad regime. As you know, the Obama administration has always been on the supporting of the rebel side. The Syrians are the people are on both sides of the fence. There's really a civil war that's going on there. So really, who do you support? The people that were there that are getting killed right now, those 1,300 people, I understand, are men, women, children, and many, many, many people sickened by this, not just killed. Probably people are going to be affected for the rest of their lives by being exposed to these gases. And one thing I'm worried about is you can't really take a side here. And if Russia wants to go in there and get their hands dirty, let them, do their own Afghanistan all over again, I guess. Uh, what's America's response should be? Look what we did in Iraq. There is a result of going after a man who used chemical weapons on his own people, and how much blood, sweat, and tears and wealth of Americans did it cost, and versus the result. And what we have here, there is a result of all that is 1,300 people killed in Syria. Okay, by more chemical gases, probably coming from Iraq when we went in there in the first place. So we go into Syria, or Russia goes into Syria. What's going to, this is just simply outrageous. You cannot pick any sides here. Now, it's not just a coincidence that earlier there have been these Taboo 77, come out with caught these actors acting out in Egypt and etc. And then all of a sudden, 1,300 people are dead. Okay, uh, those videos are made there to make you think that it's just a wag the dog situation there in Egypt or Syria or in the Middle East. Okay, that real people aren't really dying there, and we shouldn't really care one way or the other, right? Well, I can tell you what. When you have the Egyptian government that is supposed to be in control of the Suez Canal, and then you have the Chinese control of Panama Canal, and now you have the Chinese and the Russians, just using that Suez Canal at their will now, and with no accountability and being able to position their assets and basically outmaneuver the United States, especially the United States says to Egypt, well, we're going to withhold aid from you. Well, are they going to let our ships through the Suez Canal, or are they going to let the Russians and the Chinese through, or other goods and services? So this is really big news that's coming out of Syria. And I normally try not to play into the New World Order's hands when it comes to announcements like this, because so many people die across the world in so many different ways, and so many other things are going on. Fukushima is one of them. Uh, that's the one, I can't believe that's going on. Fukushima, Fukushima, Fukushima. You know, let me just say one thing about Fukushima. You ever hear of a movie called China Syndrome? Well, we came up with the term China Syndrome. Let me just go ahead and Google that. And it's a term used when a meltdown happens and the core drops through all containment and melts into the ground. And but see, that was an American term that was developed here in America, so that if our nuclear facilities were to melt down, the theory of it word is that the corium in that core molten would melt down all the way through to China. Okay, literally. I mean, they literally had theories that that is a possibility for occurring. Okay. Wikipedia has something on that if you want to just go to Wikipedia. Um, Where it's not just a movie, it's an actual event that, you know, that there's no stopping these molten cores. And I believe there's what 120 tons that's missing right now that's dropped through out of containment. I mean, you know, so if it happens here in America and it melts down, it can get down to China. What about what happens the other way around? Okay, because the idea of it is, you know, it melts through the continent and it goes through the inner core, the outer core, and the stiffer mantle, and goes through the stiffer mantle and go right through to the other side with the use of gravity, and eventually end up contaminating the other side. So what happens if it happened in Japan? Wouldn't it be the opposite? Wouldn't it be called the American syndrome? You know, just a few thoughts there too. You know, we come up with China syndrome. Now they come up with American syndrome. Okay, the China syndrome, loss of coolant accident, is a fictional nuclear reactor operations accident characterized by a severe meltdown of core components of the reactor, which then burn through the containment vessel and housing building, then notionally through the crust and body of the Earth until reaching the other side, which in the United States is jokingly referred to as being China. Okay. The system design of a nuclear power plant built in the 1960s raised questions of operational safety and raised the concern that a severe reactor accident could release large amounts of quantities of radioactive materials into the atmosphere and environment. By 1970, there were doubts about the ability of the emergency cooling systems of a nuclear reactor to prevent a loss of coolant. Now, let me tell you about that, the loss of coolant. The only thing that any reactor has for the capability of cooling, okay, is just for maintenance. It just, there's no way you can cool a chain reaction from happening. It's there for just storing. Once you got a chain reaction that happens, because it's all about keeping everything separate in a nuclear facility. But once you get a chain reaction that happens, there's no way you have nothing to cool it down with. You know, nothing. Okay, I don't care what kind of chemicals you want to pump down there, whatever 100 degrees below zero, you're not going to cool it. Okay. But yeah, that's the idea. You know, the planet-piercing concept of the China syndrome is a metaphor, not a straight description of the actual process. Okay, but it does melt down into the earth. Okay, and and it does melt down into the water tables. Okay, that's where a lot of our water is below ground, and it does put out those. What I like to call radioactive steam geysers. It'll cause steam to come up through the earth, et cetera, et cetera. That's why it's polluting the whole bay there in Japan. But, you know, could that conceivably happen? You know, what's going to cool it off? You know, so, you know, it's just going to be a big 120-ton glob going and following the least path of resistance. You know, horrible situation there in Japan, and that is not ever going to go away. You know, I believe that the 1,000-year reign of Christ, you know, if you think about it, that 1,000-year reign of Christ, before everything finally comes to fruition, I think that's about how long it's going to take to actually fix the planet. You know, about how bad we're killing it with radiation. And I think that's going to be whoever's left over's job is to be the new stewards of the earth and repair the messes. And we'll show them how to do it and do it right. Like, hey, they should have bombed or hit Fukushima with a Hiroshima bomb and melt everything in an instant before that corium got melted down. Now we're looking at a situation where things are different. We don't even know where it's at. So if we do drop a bomb, what we miss? Yeah. So a little bit of studying before that solution is attempted, but it should be used. Um, People look at me like, hey, you're crazy, you nuke it. You know, well, you change the elements immediately. Yeah, and cleans it up actually more. I mean, we'll have radiation afterwards, of course, but better deal with it for the next 50 years and for the next 500. So there are my thoughts. My prayers go out to those who live in the Middle East in general, Israel, Egypt, Northern Africa, Syria. I mean, the devil's having his way, and can't, you know, the devil will think he's having his way. So just keep lifting those people up in prayer. Those poor Coptic Christians also there in Egypt who lost their lives, and not just had their churches burned, but had their families killed right in front of them. And the poor North Koreans also that are up there that are suffering in their prisons, millions of them that are being tortured, and even having their own family members killed right in front of them in horrific fashion, like hangings and shootings. That's the way they get to live their lives. So think about that next time you want to click on the live record here on YouTube and you're sitting in your nice air-conditioned house, with your beautiful baby sitting there next to you, like I do. And I'm very grateful for what the Lord has provided for me. And even though I have my own challenges, we all do, sure. Sure we do. I am uploading a video right now. When I do my HD video, when I go outside, do my recording, it takes a couple hours to upload. This way it's a little bit quicker when I come in here and do this, of course. But there's a lot going on out there in space, too. Just FYI. I don't think that the data has been reported accurately about how much energy intensity is actually coming our way. The obvious manipulation of the SOHO and SDO imagery of the sun diving comet and the resulting ejection, eruption off of the sun from that. And we're now getting double whammied, I think, and we're going to continue to get whammied. Pay attention to ISIN too. More cover up on NASA, how they like to manipulate photos. Why don't they just give us all the raw data and let us come up with the final photos? How about that? Give us all the raw data you get, NASA, and you come up with yours, but let us come up with yours too. But you're not providing all the raw data that you have. You're not providing public access. So it's either for money, so you can make money off of these images somehow, or it's for power. I mean, there's only when you're talking about the management of knowledge, and you're a government agency, you shouldn't be charging for it. And so every single pic that comes off of Hubble should be made public immediately. Every single image, not a rehashed, re-smudged, blurred out, glared through. Here's your last final pic that we provide to you. Picture? No. How about give us all of it? It's ours. We paid for it. We put Hubble up there. That's my telescope, NASA. You're my scientist, NASA. That information is mine, NASA. It's mine, not yours. You work at the will of the people. We went away, your budgets go away, period. Or you're going to keep forcing money, forcing taxation, and forcing investment, and forcing redevelopment. Yeah, that'll come to an end, and you know that too. So what you need to do is release all the images of anything that's out there, okay? All activities that go on with all our satellites that are paid for by the American people. And I know they're developed by Raytheon, and all these contracts that were made for, or paid for and made for America. And but that doesn't mean you get to control the flow of information, and all of it should be free. Free. Just like I think all education should be free. Nobody should have to pay for education, period, and information. All information should be free, period. Even intellectual knowledge. I think that's when you start having peace on earth. Everybody wants to talk about oil and the dollar and gold and silver. No, it's the acquisition of knowledge and then the language that's applied thereof. That's what it's about. That's the secret, guys. Even when you Ever watch? Here's a good example. You ever watch a woodworking program and on PBS or whatever? Why don't you watch them? Because they're long and they're boring. But if you're in woodworking, you would like to watch them because all of a sudden they start using those jig words and all those words that you don't understand with the tool of this and die that, and you're like, oh boy, my brain is melting, right? Because they created a language so they could have a monopoly on that portion of their talent or industry. Okay, so my vision is that all information should be free. So um, yeah, there's just some of my thoughts for the day. But poor Syrians, that's what this prompted me to get up and give a quick report. So if I have any more thoughts, maybe I'll upload more of these. Maybe do screencast of a few things on what's going on in the sun and some reports on that. And that's space weather first, then Earth weather. That's what I always say. And I encourage everyone out there that has a camera, start a simple YouTube channel, take one video a day of your local weather and upload it. Create a folder. Don't even make it public. You don't even have to make it a public channel if you don't want, but use it as a way of recording your local weather. So when severe weather, whether it be drought, extreme temperature, fire, abnormal weather, lightning, tornadoes, because right now we have a small cell moving through northern Iowa. We have no rain for weeks and months. And also, we have a small cell that's smaller than one of our counties moving through northern Iowa, just tearing things up. Okay? And we don't have a weather front moving through. Okay, they told us, oh, chance of thunderstorms, but we get this tiny little cell that moves from west to east real quick and it's tearing stuff up with hail and wind. So that's why I encourage people, because if your house being blown away, it's man-made, and you got to claim it on your insurance as a man-made event. And here's a good example. Again, I don't mean to keep going on. I'm going on 17 minutes. Goodness. Right now, insurance companies are actually sending in their own crews out west to fight fires, to protect their insured homes from being burnt down because they don't want to pay to have their houses rebuilt. Okay? So when your house gets blown away, washed away, burned up in a fire because of the drought, all that, hey, it's caused by lightning. If you can prove that that fire was sparked by lightning, like they're saying, in the storm that caused the lightning to be so intense, it caused those intense lightning bolts to strike and catch fire, or so many lightning bolts or so many fires are started at once. I used to be a firefighter when I was 19. I used to be one of those hot shots out there fighting those fires. So I used to do it, where you put out a fire with a daggone shovel. It's hard work. 150 degrees right on that fire line. Okay, and I know how these fires are started. And it's not just one lightning bolt; it's a multiple storm that starts multiple fires, and they all start up in this one big, come together, and it's one big uh, fire. But if it's a geoengineered storm and your house gets burned up, there you go. And sue those people. Make the insurance company start suing those people, because either the people that are geoengineering are going to get it right and stop messing with the local folk and get it right and have it organized correctly, instead of having everything behind closed doors and hushed up and not paid out right. So get your insurance companies to not accept it as an act of God anymore. These guys aren't gods. These guys are human beings that need to be held accountable for their actions and to get it done right. If you want to do it right. No experimentation and then say that we're the guinea pigs and we're going to pay for it. No, we're going to be the guinea pigs and you're going to pay for it. You're going to get sued by the insurance companies. Are going to go after you with their lawyers, not my lawyer. I've already talked to my insurance adjuster and I explained all this to him. If anything happens, your lawyers, your attorneys are going to represent me to go after these guys because I have proof, terabytes of proof, all on portable drives. Okay, that are totally unconnected from my network that I back and archive everything. So they're not going to come and steal anything, erase anything. So, but I do have record. And because I know this is a geoengineering corridor right here on I-80, east-west. Right here in central Iowa, they have to do it for the rest of the whole east coast, eastern half of the United States. So this is a huge geoengineering area. That's why I take the time. Uh, because what they do here, pardon me, what they do here will affect everybody else for the half of the United States. We're getting drought here. Hmm? Why? Because we got lots of problems down south. That's why. Okay, lots of problems down south. And they don't want to dump a bunch of water here. Monsanto's like, no, no, no. We've got this drought-resistant seed in the ground right now, blah, blah, blah. And no rain, per Monsanto's request. Got to keep our ground as clean as possible because that rain is dirty, dirty rain. And so I complained about my lawn. Oh my. While Syrians are getting gas. And that attack started happening at 3 a.m. in the morning. Imagine, being asleep in your bed and waking up to this stuff filling your house. What's your next move? You know, they don't live with gas masks like most of Israel does. And we'll see what happens from here, how these people are going to respond to this type of treatment. I mean, just whole countrywide. I think Assad's going to lose a lot of, how would you say, local support. He's got a lot of foreign support, including Obama's. Yeah. Obama says, "Oh, I'm supporting you over here," and him and Putin are buddies. So he's allowing Putin and their military-industrial complex now to capitalize off the Middle East situation. Mm-hmm. Just like we did with Iraq, Afghanistan. Now we're taking the back seat. Now their industrial complex gets to capitalize. Them and China and get to test out their little toys like they just did on Syrian people. Just like Israel did when they dropped a bunker buster nuke on that research facility and irradiated Damascus. Okay, that's why they're sending people there to Damascus to kill them. It's a big meat grinder. I would not want to be anywhere near Syria. It's you know, it's a chemical and nuclear wasteland now, just like America could become really quick if they allow this Fukushima radiation to continue. Yeah, and there's already a lot of nuclear hotspots across the United States that the government's not telling you about, like some are in Los Angeles, some in the South, some right here in the Midwest. Right when it happened, less than 4 days later, we got dumped on with xenon right here in Iowa, high doses. You know, I was just glad my child was born healthy so far. It's like great, praise God, thank you. So a lot on my mind today. So I don't do a lot of these uploads. I do some that I have on private. But, this one I think I'm going to allow to be public and should be made public. You, you, you can't take sides. You're going to take sides of gassing 1,300 of those people that hated America. These aren't America-loving citizens in Syria, honestly. When we were going into Iraq and Afghanistan, they hated us. Great Satan. Nobody there involved in there loves us or cares anything about America. So, just a horrible situation. And we can't just intervene. We can't intervene. Russia wants to do what they want to do. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to suffer for it. Then they learn their lesson in Afghanistan, or maybe they did. They learned how to capitalize on it. Like I said, their industrial complex needs a boost. America seems to be doing all right. So Russia needs a little bit of something out of this world chaos, not wasting a good crisis, so to speak. And just really glancing around this, what are you guys going to do when you guys go to heaven and there's no more bad news to report of? And only good news. Hallelujah. I can't wait to be able to talk to people and talk about all the great things that are happening. The businesses that are being created, the, the services that are being provided, the ideas that are come to fruition, the inventions that have made life easier for folks. I remember when those were highlights. Now we're talking about backpedaling big time. But again, two big things: what's going on in the sun, solar weather, space weather, sun-diving comets causing eruptions, sea means coming our way, coronal mass ejections, filaments erupting off the sun, a huge filament that was, whew, filament was more than half the sun's length and just ripped off the sun. That was just massive. It's just incredible. I love it. Uh, Not too many people know this about me, but before I was in IT for a very long time, for most of my life, and also other business management, food service things of that nature, but mainly IT. And a few years ago, became disabled several years ago, 3 years ago, and so I've been studying more in space weather phenomena. Uh, it's been fascinating, and I've been learning a lot. I've been doing nothing but studying every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. And sometimes you got to get rest, of course, but you know, a good old universe won't ever give you rest. It's God's creation, His glory, and I love it. And but I don't worship the creation; I worship the Creator, and I hope you all are doing the same. That's our only way out of all this stuff, guys, and through it. Not out of it, but really through it, because we're always going to have certain challenges. Uh, if we keep that in mind, worship the Creator, put Him first, we'll get through it all. Well, love you guys. Take care.